Hello, this is Anisha Rai, the editor of Identity, and today we're here in the company of industry leaders for a panel discussion titled Built to Last in collaboration with GROHE. The themes we will explore in this talk will include innovation, sustainability, technology, and how collaboration shapes spaces that stand the test of time. We have an amazing panel with us. Kindly introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit on your latest project that you're working on.
I'm Adriana Graur. I'm the design director for DWP Dubai studio.
Good, thanks for having me. Stefan Schmied, leader IMEA, India, Middle East, Africa for GROHE, and very pleased to be here in this nice panel. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm Bruno Gomes, Design Director for Architecture with Dewan.
Thank you for the invitation as well. My name is Hitan Pankhania, working with Nikken Sekkei, Design Leader for Nikken Sekkei.
Can you tell us, maybe Adriana, you can start, how do brands and professionals usually collaborate when they are trying to develop a space that's not only functional but also engaging?
Starting with corporate, of course, we work very closely with the client to understand the spaces in order to make them definitely functional, but at the same time engaging for the person inhabiting each and individual element of that space. Now we cater for so many types of open plan work environment. It's no longer just, okay, the open plan desking system and collaboration that were like one or two before. Now we have to come up with like various solutions for every single task that a person needs to perform during the day. So when we look at that, then yes, we work with a lot of collaborators from architecture, especially for the projects that start from ground. If it's zero, then it's a great chance to work with the architect on getting the right orientation and then having the right openings towards the right views and natural light and so on. And obviously it's great because you can really define an environment that will function properly and will also feel right. But when we're looking at hospitality or residential, then it's a complete different approach. We have operators, you have to comply with that. You have the architect, you have the MEP, signage, artwork. There are so many elements that you have to work with to define a space that it's functional. Because I feel like sometimes we forget that more than design, you have to get the space functioning properly. Because that will define your project ultimately.
So how does that look for you, Stefan, being on the other side of?
We as GROHE come in basically to give a peace of mind to designers. It's a bit our job that they know, fine, as I said, the complexity, you have different players, you have the MEP who needs to know how to install, it's maybe the facility manager who needs to know how to maintain. So basically that's where our products come in, because in terms of also selection, as you said, we have quite a broad and wide product portfolio, so basically it's easier for the designers, okay, fine, what do I really need? And we can propose these solutions. And I said it's basically also the trust that we build with the designer community. Also, we do regularly, for example, lunch and learns. So we also try then to not train, but to educate also about the solutions that we have to make the life of this designer a bit easier, we hope, so to speak. In this very complex and more demanding environment.
How does it look for you, Bruno, in terms of?
From our side, I don't think our industry is not anymore like probably 40 years ago, where it was a central person, the star architect, and everything was around him. I think now is much more about collaboration between all the teams involved in the process, from suppliers, sub-consultants, consultants, interior designers, MEP teams, all the teams is really, and there is so many requirements today in terms of designing and building that it's really impossible just to work alone and try to solve everything like so many years back.
Hitan, is the journey similar for you as well at Nikken?
Yeah, it's all about really creating those spaces. Working and collaboration is the key thing. And if you collaborate, like you said, with your MEP and your consultants and the client to make sure that the expectations are met, I think that's the key thing, what the industry needs and the way it's going. Like you said, it's changed over the past 10, 15, 20 years. and it's all about design. And people want spaces that actually you want to go in, design that actually it looks good, not just the bog standard sort of design. So I think that's how the industry has gone. And if you collaborate and make your amazing designs, that's when people appreciate it. So I think that's how we're really going.
My next question for you, Stefan, is from the brand side, what are some of the initiatives that GROHE is taking to work more closely with design professionals?
I said we heard it. It's a lot of these relationships, almost like friends often. I think it's these collaborations, and again we said it before. It's building this trust, because I think that is what really is building and creating these spaces that we have mentioned. So we're taking up the feedback, what works, what doesn't work, and then trying to create new solutions there. So for example, sustainability. We understand sustainability, so there, for example, we have our EcoJoy, which is really the water flow rates, what is required. Hospitality, for example, is always leading in how do we save water in terms of flow rates for showers. And also there are how do you reduce the flow rate and still give the client a shower experience. Or let's say we also have the cold start, where basically the water starts at cold and not with mixed hot and cold water. So there's also a lot of water saving and energy saving in there. But of course we have it with surfaces, materials, colors. Everybody now wants to have a colored faucet. I don't know what the experience is with other panelists, but what we can see, colors is at least 30-40% now from what we are selling, especially in the mid to high. So that is basically where we're trying to give the A&D community solutions they can play with and work with. And then maybe a last point brings me again also a bit to the trust, and it's also what Bruno mentioned. It's how does it work in 4 or 5 years? Is it still there? And I think that also has a lot to do with sustainability. It's not like, well, we see a lot of cheap products and then they have to do a renovation every 3 years, or they can't find spare parts and have to rip out the whole thing. Because I think also the trend is clearly going behind the wall. So everybody wants to have neat, clean. So concealed cisterns was the first one. Showers now going into the wall. No, they're seldomly in high or mid-level projects now. You can hardly see in front of the wall showers. They often put it in the wall concealed. It's at least a bit what we see. And now also with the faucet, everything is wall outlet. So everything goes into the wall. So you better make sure that thing has a certain quality standard. Yeah, that's what we see a bit there.
Right. And Adriana, so when you're building a project, are you finding similar trends or are they slightly different? And what's the mandate for sustainability across the different sectors you work in?
We definitely see the same. Perhaps not in terms of colors as much, because we work with a lot of developers, so they do understand the risks into that, and it does come with a price. So over years we try to evolve with the changes and going less through the value engineering exercise and just be more strategic from day one and mitigate the cost to start with. So we reach out and we ask, okay, we have this particular budget, where do we fit? So then we will look at certain elements from the whole collection in order to maintain it throughout the project and not go into DD or TD and then we need to value engineer and change that. That's one element, but second, it's also the importance of sustainability and how we put these elements into the wall, for example. And hospitality, I think we do have a bigger impact, especially on, as Stefan was saying, especially on sustainability aspects of making sure that the water flow is right and still get the experience. I'll say it's the same on residential, especially that we're shaping a large amount of developments for the future years. So the better you do it, the longer it will last.
Right. And maybe, Hitan, you can share some perspective on, from a macro perspective as an architect. what are some of the considerations you look at? Because like obviously you can't look at trends like Adriana was saying, but obviously a lot of people have sustainability now quite imbibed in them, especially in terms of hospitality, as was discussed with Bruno and Stefan.
So I think it's very similar to what Adriana said in terms of sustainability is a key aspect now in design. So it's all about water conservation, but also not having a negative impact to design, so that we actually design, like we said before, where a user would want to use that space. So sustainability, like we said, is key. Especially with our work, we tend to use Japanese techniques or style, and it's very similar to, I think, GROHE's products, where it's very minimalist, and similar in that aspect, where actually the design can work hand in hand.
And Bruno, in terms of how Dewan approaches projects, because you work with master developers as well. And
yes, it's something, personally I believe this exists because we are doing something wrong. Because if everyone was doing the things properly, we don't need certification. It's really about common sense when we design, to design the right spaces, to use the right materials, local materials. And I can see in the market a tendency to try to hide everything without even consider all the implications. And I'm sure you are suffering a lot with this, because we are trying to hide everything to make the perfect space. And there is a lot of complexity on this that is not sustainable at all. And there is a good example. 20 years ago, everyone was closing the ceilings with gypsum. And today, every single office is open ceiling. There is a famous Portuguese architect, Eduardo Sotomora, is always saying, if you want to be modern, just remove the ceiling. And this is somehow what happens when we try to follow the trends and not really design it for to try to have a clear vision or to try to solve a problem.
Let's talk about the concept of renovations. Adriana, have you experienced any major shifts in terms of renovation in the Middle East and the projects that you work across DWP?
Regionally, I think a lot more of the hospitality, because of course the global change on hospitality, I'll say, and it has been ongoing for the past few years in Dubai and picking up even more. On workplace, more or less, I think we reach a limit with the availability of the commercial spaces, so people can no longer go and take 5 floors in a certain building because there is no availability. So you have to work with the existing space. Because of that, then we see smaller spaces being refurbished because people work flexible. So you don't need 5,000 employees anymore in the space. They will cater for 2,500 maybe, and then the rest can have flexibility on the space. Which, from my perspective, I think it's good. If the team works well in that way, then it's great. And I remember when we were working on Diwa, which is getting built now, they were 5,000 employees, and the building will allow for that. But as you can imagine, and that's net zero. It has everything on the sustainability to the maximum. That's actually extremely challenging, to allow for people to have all the points, and then at the same time make it feel appealing and making it feel welcoming. Yes, with that, the refurbishments, I think, can achieve it, and they are happening, but on a smaller scale than what used to be.
Bruno, maybe you can give us some insight on that as well.
I'm quite happy to see what is happening now, because some years ago it was demolition was the word, and now we pass it to renovation. I think it's a big step. It means people feel more proud about the past, about what we are building in this part of the world. I think this is really important. Some years ago, I think people was not feeling this connection with the place, and now it means people feel the connection with the place. It is why we have the renovations. But in some of the projects we are doing, actually, I think we are passing almost to the extreme, where we are trying to, as an example, I was working in a project in Medina, renovation for one hotel. It was apartments, now it will be one hotel, a really prime location. And personally, I have my doubts if this structure is the right structure for a proper 5-star hotel, because there is so many limitations for something that was designed for residential. And I think when we go on this direction for the renovation, really need to make a proper assessment, not to demolish the building. I think it's the right approach is to try to reutilize the building in a proper way, but it requires a proper assessment in terms of which program we will have on this building. It can just try to make a 5-star hotel when my ceiling is 2.7. So will not give the best experience for the users. So we need to find the right balance between what is renovation and what we can do with this renovation.
Stefan, I would love to know some insights, because you work across a couple of regions.
Just to also reflect what has been said so far, the region is of course still very much new build driven overall, and if you look in Saudi, for example, so if Jeddah, they currently do exactly what you said, Bruno, they're basically still demolishing everything and then build new. Dubai, so they said, listen, the structure is actually fine, and as you said, a lot of or Adriana also said, a lot of the hotels now, they're basically old, they get refurbished. But what we also see is more, we work a lot with retail designers, we call them, so the smaller design houses also do a lot of residential, but what we also see are the smaller renovations. So there is a lot of these smaller residential renovations happening, and we can see that is especially a topic of time. It's not even the cost, it's often like, okay, as you said, how fast can I basically renovate something? For hospitality, the same. They don't want to have the rooms closed for months, they want to have quick. And that's where, again, GROHE basically comes in with our solutions. They can say, hey, they're quicker to maintain. We also have, for example, yes, the concealed system has a frame. You also have a shower with the frame, where you basically install it, and you can install a concealed shower within 45 minutes.
Bruno, I'd like to ask you, has there been a sort of a rethink of bathrooms in public spaces? Or has there been any challenge to the approach of a typical bathroom when you try to approach or design something like that?
Hospitality, the toilets are completely designed a different way. And I think there is, hospitality is for probably 10% of the population can go to the hospitality and enjoy these amazing bathrooms. And I think we need to start rethinking the bathrooms more in terms of apartments, in terms of schools, in terms of public buildings, because there is so many things. Because the toilet, it's not just a necessity, it's a kind of retirement space where you want a bit to disconnect, you don't want to see all your team calling you every 5 minutes. It's the space where you disconnect. So it's much more than a necessity, and I don't feel the 80% of the bathrooms are not designed thinking on this. It's really designed in reduce the space, and after they try to do something with the finishes, they try to make some fancy lights, but really we are not solving the problem. We are really just camouflating the problem with the nice feeling. But there is still so many things that can be better. Especially for me, a bathroom without natural light, it's something that is a shame. I mean, sometimes just as simple as a frosted glass on the bathroom, where you can get some natural light from the window.
What are your sentiments on that, Hitan?
I feel the same sort of way in terms of architecture has changed, but the space is always like compromised. So, but it's about finding the balance, really, isn't it? So you want iconic or great design. A lot of the clients do come to us and say, we want something iconic, something that's like a landmark. But finding the balance for that is the key thing. So that's why it's very important that we work with the spaces, work with the client and obviously the consultants to make sure that these spaces work. Because at the end of the day, the user needs to be able to enjoy that space. Just like we said about the bathrooms, that we lack natural light, natural ventilation. So creating these spaces are the key thing. As well as obviously having all the energy, performance related issues, sustainability, all driven back into this. So very similar to what Bruno said.
But we can see, especially now, I just take the palm because it's just literally around the corner here. You have A, B, C types. It's all the same there basically. And what we can see, and it's probably because it's more small, as I said, these retail designers, we can really see people, they got the place. It's all shell and core, and they really redesign the bathrooms. They take, for example, the bathtub out. It's everywhere on the palm, you still have a bathtub. So they take the bathtub out, they make these big showers, they work on the lighting, make big slabs on the walls. And I said, so you can see, if you now go into these standard apartments that you had before in the shorelines, if you go in there, they're all completely different because they take out the walls, they try to they really redesign the whole thing. It's actually quite interesting.
You have different necessities and different backgrounds. There's so many things that we are different and try to implement the same type of typology. What is for me concerning is not in the same tower, it's really in the full city. Everyone is doing similar typology. Yes. Really, I had really discussions with some clients about negotiating 10 centimeters to move the wall because you need to get the minimum dimension of the toilet that you need to implement. There is something also, as designers, you need to challenge the briefs from the clients. Yeah. I think it's really the first step, and not accept the brief as it is. Because in the end, we are working with completely different clients and developers. And we know what is filling on the market. And somehow we need to challenge this with the clients. So sit with them and look, probably we can do this in a different way. For us, as example, we are spending more and more time in benchmarks. Actually, in the beginning, benchmark for us was just putting some photos from some buildings we found somewhere because we like the building. But really now, even last week, we start doing proper videos going to the places and to start showing the clients, not even photos, videos showing why this is a benchmark and why this works. I think it's about communication, how we communicate with the clients. Sometimes we have good ideas, amazing ideas, but we don't explain these in the right way. And obviously understand also the other side. If I don't visualize in the right way or in an easy way, I will never accept your ideas, because I think there is more effort we need to put in the way how we communicate with our clients to try to convince them about what we are doing is the right approach. But it's not easy because each client is different.
We are heading towards the end of the panel, so my last question for everyone. In terms of, maybe we can start with you, Stefan, in terms of technology influencing, how quickly are you able to respond to market demands?
There are actually nice solutions already in the market, and not just for 1-2 years, sometimes for 5 years. So just saying thermostats. In the region here, thermostats, you hardly see it. Everybody in the morning tries to, fix the right temperature. It exists. You basically have, also you press a button and the water comes at the right temperature. So also in terms of, let's say, I said, concealed solutions are there, water saving solutions are there. We also, of course, shower toilets is something that still is a bit newer here to the region, despite cleaning with water is very normal here. We still can see there is a lot of, okay, fine, but that means you have to talk also to the electrician and the MEP guy, and they have to make sure the drainage and that, the right planning has happened, because if you realize too late, shower toilets is simply not working.
Adriana, what's some of the technology that you are looking at these days that you think would help make the design process easier?
I think I'm in alignment with Stefan and Bruno on getting to start with the layouts right. The moment you've done the planning right, then whatever goes inside, it's already somehow designed right. And then technology comes as a layer. Everything comes as a layer. If it's done thoughtfully, then you've almost made the job. It doesn't matter what finish you apply, you will already have a good experience of not opening the door and seeing the WC straight on, which you're still seeing in a lot of new developments. And honestly, I'm looking at it, I'm like, no, I cannot do this, no. We shouldn't. And it's right, it's challenging the client or challenging the brief when we see it's not fit for purpose. It shouldn't happen like that. But in terms of technology implementation within the developments, I think we're definitely doing it.
Hitan, what are your thoughts on
I think it's all about balance. You have the architecture, you have the sanitary ware, and it's about, like we said, creating these spaces. But I don't think the technology element should override or replace the traditional aspects, so that actually the architecture should still work, and the spaces should be working for the user, but integrating these elements. And so even biophilic design, like water conservation that we said, smart sensors and all these different items can be introduced, but like we said, we've got to get them on board early so that we can integrate them into the design, and it's not a second thought or an afterthought. So I think that's the key thing, because design also wants to be unique these days, not the same thing, and I think that's what clients want. So I think this is one of the key aspects of designing for the future.
Your thoughts?
You know what I like with the technology in bathrooms is because it's technology that is not visible, and I love this in technology. Like I was commenting before, I think the bathrooms is a space where you want to disconnect, and we have screens everywhere, technology everywhere, and what these guys they are proposing is kind of invisible technology, and this is really amazing. And actually I think this is the future of the technology. It's technology that you not even realize you have technology, and this is really something that for me it's even more important in what refers to bathroom, where you don't feel everything is complex, high-tech and all these things. But after this doesn't apply only to the bathrooms. Today you have one obsession to try to make life easy, and actually there is a lot of danger on this, in the sense, when I went to Japan, something that was more surprising there is the chairs were smaller. There is steps inside the houses, and people is pushed to do more exercise when they use the designs, and this actually makes people more healthy and more active. And when you go to Japan, you see people with 80 years old and they are super active. And actually in Europe, I think we are moving, Europe and in Middle East, we are moving to a point where we try to make everything so easy to use, so simplified, where people is not using the instincts anymore. So it's really, and actually I think there is a big danger on this, to create people in terms of health, in terms of when we have older people, to feel you move, we exercise without not even think about this. And in Japan we can still see this. There is the stairs from outside, people take stairs, and there it's really trying to design for easy life. And I think we are in the balance between make easy life or make lazy people. There is this balance that is a bit dangerous. Even myself, when I went to Japan, my idea about design changed a lot on this sense. I was always, let's make flat stuff, flat buildings, life will be more easy. But after go there, you see people and start thinking, no, I think we are doing a mistake. I think we are going to a limit where people will become lazy. With technology, with the design we do, just the way we use the cars, will not drive anymore.
Thank you so much for being part of this panel. I think it's been a great discussion. We've challenged a lot of ideas that we've had, which were considered the norm as the past. This is Anisha signing off. Thank you for watching.